Shinobi Art of Vengeance, one of the game's part of Sega's big revival of its franchises that was teased back in the Game Awards of 2023. And just taking a look at the response to this game, it seems that yeah, it is a big hit, but strangely, nobody really seems to be talking about it. And I know it's Shinobi, it's not the most popular franchise of all time, but it's still a great 2D platformer that deserves some attention from people. And since nobody else is talking about it, in today's video, I am going to talk about it and try to convince people to buy this game because it's honestly nearly a masterpiece. Now, despite me not beating the game yet, I have played approximately 5 hours of it, so I feel like by this point, I have a good judgment of this game by now because, I mean, it's 5 hours, right? Nobody plays a game for 5 hours and thinks, yeah, maybe I should just carry on playing even though I don't like the game. Like, no, nobody's stupid enough to do that. I mean, unless it's for content purposes, but I didn't really intend to make this video in the first place. I was just thinking that, hang on, I'm actually really enjoying this game and nobody seems to be talking about this, so I guess I'll do my part on it then. So if it wasn't already obvious, Shinobi Art of Vengeance is a 2D platformer that has a big emphasis of mixing both platforming and combat. Now, just to clarify, before playing this game, I never touched any Shinobi game at all, so if I don't seem to be that familiar with the franchise, then that's the reason why. The game just interested me so much in that trail from the Game Awards in 2023 that I thought, you know what? Alright, I'll give it a go. And thank God I did because it's just so much fun to play. Starting off with the art style of the game because it is just eye candy to look at. Everything in this game that you see is either hand-drawn or looks hand-drawn. And it just gives the game a very unique look. Because I personally have never seen a game that looks quite like this game. Sure, there have been games that utilize hand-drawn stuff like Rayman Legends and Origins, but nothing quite exactly like this game. And the art style coupled with all the effects that they put on screen is just beautiful to look at, really. In terms of the art style in this game, I literally have zero complaints. Not a single one. Visually though, I think in terms of combat, the game can sometimes get a bit confusing because with all the effects appearing on screen, you kind of get lost in it all thinking that, wait, where the heck am I? But it's nothing game ruining, so yeah, visually, art style wise, this game is impeccable. And now moving on to the best part of the game, which is obviously the gameplay. As I said earlier, this game has a big focus on both platforming and combat, with a hint of puzzle solving here and there. Now when it comes to the platforming in this game, I was pleasantly surprised upon playing it. With the way the game opens, it feels more like it's going to be combat focused than platforming focused, but as the game went on, there was a lot more platforming here that was actually both difficult and well thought out, which was actually very good. It also helps that the more you progress through the game, the more abilities you unlock, making the platforming more interesting because there are a lot more mechanics to work with. And something I was not expecting up until halfway through the game are these things called Anku Rifts, teleporting you to a separate dimension or something where there's essentially a massive platforming challenge that you have to actually complete to get a reward, and these are really fun. They are no pushovers, let me tell you, these are actually brutal platforming challenges. If you run out of health, boom, you're going back to the beginning all over again. And as someone who loves platforming and challenge, these were especially made for me. Like, it certainly feels like it. Some people might find this harsh or whatever, that, oh, they're way too difficult, man, but who cares? It's not like they're unfair at any point, and again, they are optional things. You don't actually have to do any of these Anku Rifts, you can skip them all if you wanted to. So yeah, in terms of the platforming side of this game, it's all pretty much just brilliant. You've got a handful of chase scenes in this game too, where you get like a massive set piece that happens, like say, water's coming in to try and kill you, or you're getting chased by a drone or a jet, whatever you call them, but you gotta run away and stuff like that. It's all pretty great stuff. I think there's something that they could change to make the platforming even more fun. Is it even in the platforming itself? It's to do with the movement. Joe Musashi, the name of the main character in the game you play as, has an ability where he rolls forward, but unfortunately, you can't jump out of it to keep your momentum, similar to like Rayman Legends and Origins. It's just a little burst of speed forward that you can get, and that's really about it. But when you die a ways away from a checkpoint and have to go run back there all over again, it just kind of shows that this movement would be a bit better if, you know, you actually have some momentum in that roll, because it can get a bit tiring to spamming the same roll button over and over again in a straight line, instead of just having like a roll jump or something to speed you up. Just stuff like that pretty much. But now to move on to the combat side of the game. Again, I was very pleasantly surprised by this combat, because usually I'm not a very big combat guy in video games, honestly. If a game has a combat system in there, I would prefer for it to be not that complicated to get a grip of, but then at the same time, not to cross a line of being too basic where it's kind of mind-numbing. But thankfully, this game finds the perfect balance of not being too complicated, but also not being basic. If you're good enough at this game, you can juggle hordes of enemies in one combo, defeating the health bars just like that. And it feels satisfying to pull off every single time because of the simple fact that the enemies in this game are not a joke. You've obviously got your one-hit kill enemies here and there because, I mean, you've got to, right? But then you've also got your enemies that actually, you know, fire back, whether it be with projectiles or just like a sword like you have. Then some enemies even have like a shield they have to break through or whatever, and it's just great variety overall. In nearly every single level, there's always brand new enemy types being introduced here, and it just leads to the combat never getting stale. It also helps that the visual and sound design of this combat is again fantastic. Every animation, every sound effect in this combat system is just perfection. I can only imagine what this game is like at 120 FPS because I'm currently stuck at 60, but my god, it's already buttery smooth as it is, so 120 must be amazing. Now, one of my favourite parts of the combat system in this game has to do with the boss fights. At the end of most levels, there is always a boss fight to finish it off with, and there is not a single bad boss fight in this game. They are all brilliant. Some boss fights are more about spamming hits at one specific enemy because they're literally the same size as you. And then other boss fights are about dodging attacks and just getting a perfect time to attack it. And something really cool I find about this game too is that a lot of the earlier boss fights actually appear as normal enemies in a regular level at some point. And while that might sound tedious, it's really not that bad, and actually I really do like it because at that point in the game, you'll have leveled up so much to the point where these enemies really just don't even feel like bosses anymore, but rather just like regular enemies at this point. These might be some of my favorite boss fights in any video game for the pure reason that they actually put your skills to the test. They don't do anything too crazy because they don't need to. It's just pure gameplay. Other games' boss fights might have the spectacle down to a T, but this game has the gameplay down to a T, and in a video game, I think gameplay might be the most important factor. Don't know about you. And turning off the gameplay part of this video, in terms of level design and everything and how it's structured, most of the time I actually really like the level design here. I think there was only one part of the game I was really a big fan of. I think it was called Neon City, which is a shame because that is actually one of the coolest looking ones, but there was just a bit too much backtracking for my liking, where you go to one area, like save a civilian, then you go back to the main area and go to another room, which involves going back through the same levels and you just played over and over again, but it plays exactly the same. And I have seen games like Rayman Legends, go play that game as well, where there's a gimmick where you have to go through a room, hit a switch, then as you go back to the level design again to the main room, the entire level changes. And I feel like something like that could have been done here too to make it just a bit more interesting to go back on that same level design again, but unfortunately that was not the case, so oh well. But I mean, it's only one level, right? Everybody's got to have their one miss, and unfortunately that is this game's miss. And again, a shame because it's Neon City, one of the coolest looking ones because it's basically a Sega city. I don't have footage of it right now, but trust me, it looks cool. But yeah, with that being said, the gameplay of this game is simply fantastic. If you like games like Rayman Legends, Origins, Hollow Knight, Celeste, heck, even Sonic, you should be playing this game right now. And to end off with the final two segments right here, we have the music and story. The music in this game is simply fantastic because, once again, the man himself, T. Lopes, has come to compose some stuff on here, and again, it's simply all a hit. I think maybe my only slight critique of this soundtrack is that every single boss from what I've played so far has the same song every single time. It would have been nice to give them more personality by giving them each a different boss theme, but it's still a great boss theme, so it's not the end of the world really. But then in terms of the story in this game, not gonna lie, I wasn't really that interested. It feels kind of similar to like a 2D Mario or a 2D Sonic game where the story isn't really there to be anything crazy, it's just there to get you from level to level, and that's what this game does really. So don't go in expecting masterpieces of writing or anything like that because it's just nothing crazy. But with all that brings us to the end of this little mini review of Shinobi Art of Vengeance. This is definitely my game of the year from 2025. The game it looks beautiful, plays beautiful, sounds beautiful. There's really no bad thing about this game, really. And do you want to know what the cherry on top of it all is? The price of this game is £25, $30 if you're in the US. That is a brilliant price. This game honestly feels like it's worth a whole lot more than that, but I mean, I'm not going to complain at such a low price at all. If you're somehow still not on board with the idea of this game, then have no fear because there is a free demo that you can play for this game right now. So there's no excuses right now, mate. Get in there. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, especially that last one. Don't forget to become unleashed by pressing that join button down below. Remember, it's not necessary. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.